first of all, I want to say a really nice thank you to the organisers of this event today, who've given me this opportunity to share with you guys what I've been doing for about the last 10 or 15 years. And they can come in as well, get involved. It's a really good opportunity. You guys have allowed me to share what I've learned with you guys and sort of show you what I think is a major thing that we don't really consider as human beings on our planet is we don't consider our plates enough. For me, we talk about carbon footprints, we talk about sustainability, but no one really talks about our plates as much as we should. So this is why I'm giving this talk. My name is Berty Justice, and also everything that I'm talking about today. So I'm going to be talking about a lot of different topics and a lot of information, and some of you will be like, that's too much information, and some of you will be like, I want to find out about that slide that you were saying about, or the paper that you're talking about. Everything I'm going to be showing today is going to be available for free for you guys to download in the future, so you can research it again there, or you can just ask me to explain it after the talk. I've learned a lot over the years, and I haven't got enough time today to share it with you all. So on my YouTube channel, I also talk about the environment and veganism. I talk about things like vegan organics, aquaponics, vertical farming, polytunnels, mushroom farms, and no animal inputs at all. But as I said, I haven't got enough time to squash this all in, but I will show you all the good stuff that I am going to show you today. For those that are interested, there's loads of really amazing vegan options in Plymouth and in Devon as a whole. So the website 100vegan.weebly.com is a hub for people to go to. It's created by Plymouth Vegans, who are an open group, a supportive group that will help people who are interested in veganism, support them, show them and help them along their vegan journeys. It's a free website with lots of listings. There's like vegan Airbnbs and all the amazing places that you have in Plymouth, because you've got lots of options in Plymouth. On top of that, my friend Charlie, so he actually helped create the first website that I said for you guys. He's also created Be Vegan Today, which is a hub for information about if you might have a question about B12, or you might have a question about protein, as well as my website. Charlie's website has all those extra little questions, because there are many, many questions about veganism, and I'm happy to answer them all after the talk if you have any more. Also, in Devon, we now have the Animal Rebellion, which is a side of Extinction Rebellion. So for anybody who's interested in that, please go and get involved with them as well. So questions. So when I'm listening to talks, I always have this question. I have this question in my head, but we're going to do questions at the end. And what my technique is, I write down the question that I have so that I can focus on the talk, not thinking about the question. I've got to remember this question. I've got to remember this question. So if you have any questions, think about them, write them down, and ask them at the end. And as I said, if I don't have time at the end, I'll also be around for the rest of the day, and you can contact me in the future if you have any other questions. Oh yeah, she can come in. Yeah. There's no. Yeah, of course.
So keep on hearing on next year.
So just as a show of hands, I'm interested in what your current diets are. So if you are a vegetarian at the moment, could you raise your hands?
Sort of half.
Half vegetarian. Yeah. I think this one might be you, because you're a pescatarian, aren't you? We were chatting earlier. So you're a pescatarian. So
Did you say half vegetarian?
So pescatarian. So you got. So the first question was, who's a vegetarian? Okay, that's right. Come for it. Yes, all good.
I do like a bit of meat.
Do you like a bit of meat? So you would be a meat eater. I'll get you in a second. So if you are a meat eater, could you raise your hand?
Half and
Half and half. If you're a vegan, could you raise your hand? And any other diets I might have missed? Some people are flexitarians. They occasionally eat a bit of meat. There you go. Okay, there we go. Cool.
dairy and fish.
Yeah, so you would be a pescatarian.
Oh.
Yeah. Do you eat meat? No, so that's classed as a pescatarian, and I'll get onto my journey, and I'll be able to explain more about pescatarianism. So, as I said, there's loads of slides in this talk, too many to actually fit in. So, just more slides and more slides and more slides. We've had a lot of slides this year, and I thought I'd throw in a yellow one as well, just to like cheer everyone, just make it a little bit, not all about, just a little bit of humour to throw in. And what I'll do is I'll start with my story. So I grew up killing animals. I used to shoot animals for fun, little baby birds. I used to fish. I used to hunt rabbits. And I knew about veganism and I knew about vegetarian, but I ignored all that because it was more fun to eat all the meat I wanted to. It was more fun to go and kill fish. And here I am mocking what is essentially some dead animals. So these animals had lost their lives. They're now wrapped in plastic. And instead of when we go to a funeral, we celebrate the person's lives. I'm literally doing the opposite. I'm mocking their whole lives for I had fun for 5 minutes. It was a laugh. It was a bit of a joke, but it was a very weird thing to do. And it seems now, looking back, it's a very weird thing to do. And I was in Plymouth actually. I was on my way to work, and somebody sold me this book. And basically, in that book, it started asking me all these big questions and pointing out these facts that I knew, but I was ignoring the fact that you don't need to eat animal products to be healthy and live your life. It's cruel to kill animals. Also, sustainability and environmentally, it made more sense just to grow plants instead of fattening up animals on plants and then eating the animals. It was just more logical. And on a spiritual level, it made me feel uncomfortable to kill animals. I did say that I used to fish, but there was a time when I was fishing pulled this fish out of the water, and it was taking its last breath, and I was bashing it over the head, and it made me feel uncomfortable. There was this isn't right, but I carried on for another couple of years. But it was this book that made me think and start researching into where animal products come from, what's really in them, is it good to eat animal products, what are the negative effects of eating animal products. And so I was really addicted to eating animals. I loved the taste, but I had to change. And so for me, it was a pescatarian first. I was addicted to meat, and being a pescatarian meant that I could leave in lots of fish. And then one day my friend said to me bluntly, he said, you're being a pescatarian to not eat animals, but fish are animals too. And then so I was like, actually, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I need to be true to myself. So I was vegetarian. And then at vegetarian, I looked into the egg industry and I looked into the dairy industry. And actually there's more cruelty, or if not the same amount of cruelty in eggs and dairy as there is in meat. The reason for that is that when we eat eggs, they're created by female hens, but the male chicks, when they're born in the hatcheries, they're killed after a couple of days. So you're still killing, even when we buy eggs. And even when I was buying for me, I was like, I'm going to go buy these the barn free ones, the ones that are like free range eggs. I was dead certain, I'm doing this good thing. I'm going to buy the barn free. They're having a happier life. But they're not, because the chickens are killed when they stop laying. And also, as I said, there was that hidden extra, the male chicks that were losing their lives. And in the dairy industry, to produce milk, the cows have to be made pregnant, and the babies are taken away from the mums. So it just didn't feel right, and it didn't make any sense, especially when I knew that I didn't need to eat animal products. And when I was buying animal products, I was causing this suffering to these animals. And then that was the next stage, was to go vegan, when I realized that I don't want to be a part of this system that is hurting animals anymore, and I can live happily and healthily without eating animals. Over the years, I've come up with all these different slogans and different sayings, and you shouldn't eat animals because it's better for your health, and watch out for your environmental footprint. But what I needed back then is this blunt statement, which is stop eating dead animals, be vegan, instead of all this complicated, like, what about this, what about that? My message for me back then and for the world now is stop eating dead animals, be vegan. So veganism, not a lot of people actually know what veganism means. They think it means something, but actually it's always good to go back to the roots of what veganism is. And this is from the Vegan Society. This was created in 1944, and it goes like this. Veganism is a philosophy and way of living which seeks to exclude, as far as is possible and practicable, all forms of exploitation of and cruelty to animals for food, clothing, or any other purpose, and by extension promotes the development and use of animal-free alternatives for the benefit of animals, humans, and the environment. In dietary terms, it denotes the practice of dispensing with all products derived wholly or partly from animals. So this talk is going to be about veganism, it's going to be about the environment, but actually there's four main areas that I'm going to cover. I'm going to cover animal rights, and I don't believe we have enough animal rights in the UK right now. We have rights that protect dogs. If I go and kill a dog, I'll go to prison. But if I go to a supermarket or go to a shop and buy a dead chicken, nothing happens. So I want rights I want rights for animals to allow them to live the whole of their lives, just like I like the right to live the whole of my life. And there's all sorts of other rights that animals aren't given. And when you look into the industries, and this is UK industries that I'm talking about, because that's where we live, and these are the conditions that we can change, and these are the conditions that we can boycott. I'm also going to be talking about the environment. This is land use, this is water use, this is carbon emissions, this is the acidification of waters. So outside of a factory farm, the water around it can become acidified. It's called acidification. And also tied into the environment is the economics. This is the numbers. So there's lots of numbers surrounding it, but I'm going to hopefully constrict them into bite-sized, easily digestible numbers. And also something that gets overlooked is the human health. What happens when we eat certain products? What happens to our bodies? What diseases may or may not occur? And a deeper thinking about what we put into our bodies. And so that's what this talk is. This talk is hopefully going to be an overlap of all four of those areas: animal rights, human health, environment, and economics. And all of our food choices should involve those discussions at the same time. Has anybody heard of greenwashing before? If you could raise your hand. Okay, so my view on greenwashing is labels and terms that get used for a product to make it more sellable, to make it sound better. So we have things like free range, local, organic, humane, and grass-fed. But the reality is that in the UK we have gas chambers for chickens. I'll be talking about them in a second. But they're organic. So when you're buying an organic chicken, and we've probably all eaten a chicken, and chickens are the most killed animals in the UK, and on top of that, the majority of them are killed in gas chambers. If you're going to buy an organic chicken, it probably has been put into a gas chamber. So it doesn't really, having it as organic or free range doesn't really cut it anymore when you really look at the original source of these products. And also local, so a local slaughterhouse is no better than a slaughterhouse that's in Scotland. It's still a slaughterhouse, it still kills animals. It's still, when you look at things as a whole, as the beginning of where these products came from, especially animal products, you start to see that actually we're being sold a lie. By putting the word humane in front of it doesn't change the rights of the animals, it doesn't change the lives of the animals enough for me. These chickens were in Devon. I took this photo, I met the chickens, and these are 6-week-old baby chicks. There's about 4,000 of them stuffed onto the back of this truck. Some of them were dead, some of them had burns on them, some of them were crying, some of them were weeping, some of them looked hungry, some of them looked depressed. I don't know if anybody else has seen a depressed animal before, like a dog being depressed or unhappy. I could see emotions in these animals. And these animals were going to be gassed that afternoon. The same place, they have organic chickens that go there in the morning. So again, it's that label organic doesn't really think about the animal. The animal doesn't want to be gassed. The animal doesn't want to lose their life. Calling it organic or free range or whatever term you want to do before it doesn't actually give any proper rights to the animals. And also they were individuals. So they were individuals. They had their own families until we took them away from their families, and we need to think about what they wanted from their lives, not what we want from their lives. So fish are the most killed animals on the planet, in the trillions. And some people say to me, fishing's not so bad, I'll just go down a local river and I'll cast my rod out, and it's a very chilled out, relaxing experience for me. The reality is that I give the example of if I get a fishing rod and I go near where there's a load of puppies and I launch my rod out and I get the puppies, I'm having a relaxed afternoon. But in the UK we have this reaction because they're puppies, that's bad, but because they're fish, not so bad. But the reality is that both of them feel pain, both of them suffer, but we've been conditioned to treat them separately. And similarly with the puppies, it would mean that I would have to dunk them underwater because when we take fish out of the water, they're suffocating. And so it's all a bit mad. It's all a bit mad that we're doing these things to these animals on a mass scale when we just don't need to. We can just choose to eat something else. It's really, really simple. So health is an interesting topic and a very good topic. I want everyone to be as happy and healthy as they can. And vegans get a lot of, what about your B12? What about your protein? What about your iron? There might be other nutrients that you guys can think of. The reality is that I haven't eaten animal products for 10 years. And the reality is that you can get every nutrient you need from plants. You just need to find out the plant that you need to get it from. If it's protein, then you get it from beans, legumes, tofu, those kind of things. And on top of that, so people are like, a vegan diet is unhealthy. And it's like, who said that? Because the reality is that the British Dietetics Association, the NHS, the American Dietetics Association, the American Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, and a whole group of other really renowned health bodies say that you can be a healthy vegan at every stage of life, from birth until death. So there's a lie that you can't be healthy. You can be unhealthy as a vegan, and you can be unhealthy as a meat eater or somebody who eats animal products. But the reality is you can be healthy as a vegan. This is a free PDF for those that are interested, who want to read up more about it. It's available if you just type Berty Justice, healthy free vegan diets, free PDF, it should come up in Google. People are skeptical of a vegan diet, and that's healthy. Am I going to be healthy? Am I going to live long? Is it going to be bad for my health? But I want people to have that same cynicism and that same skepticism of the animal products that we're putting into our bodies. Because the reality is that a vegan diet is naturally lower in saturated fat, contains no animal cholesterol. There's little or no chance of containing things like VCJD, which is the human form of BSE, Salmonella, swine flu, Campylobacter, MRSA, Zika virus, plastics, which is called PCBs, which accumulate in fish. You've got heavy metals like mercury in fish as well. All these things that when we have all this attention on a vegan diet being negative, but no one's actually addressing the animal products and the extra effect that they can have on us. So I want people to be cynical, and I want people to question their diets, but I want them to question the animal products with the same amount of questioning they do for a vegan diet, because when you look into it, it doesn't make sense. And when you connect the ethics and the rights of these animals, it doesn't make sense. Bird flu came from us hyper-confining these chickens, or it may have come from another source. But these aren't environments, these aren't healthy environments to keep animals in. And the reality is that it's not just bird flu. We had swine flu as well in 2009. And so from these viruses and these pandemics, people died. People lost their lives. And to me, instead of changing, like making the cages bigger for the pigs or making them have better conditions, why don't we just get rid of the root cause? And that root cause of these pandemics is animal agriculture. If we keep changing the system a little bit, we're just going to be waiting for the next one to come, because these conditions that we keep these animals in create these superbugs. Well, interestingly enough, apples, bananas, cherries, lentils, chickpeas, quinoa, falafel, vegan curries, vegan noodles never caused a pandemic. I've never heard of a clementine causing a pandemic. But I have heard of pigs and chickens and cows and mad cow disease and those kind of things. It doesn't happen in the plant world. So for me, that's another reason to shift towards eating plants. And I was talking to the guys earlier, and I used to be some of the people here earlier, and I used to be a really, really massive environmentalist. I was like doing projects and spending 6 months on a project in Plymouth and trying to get people to recycle more and look at what they're doing and don't fly and catch trains and all these kind of things. But what I wasn't doing was addressing one of the biggest issues and one of the biggest changes I could make, and that was my plate, the food that was coming onto my plate. I wasn't changing my diet. I was changing my shoes. I was recycling clothes, those kind of things. But we need to think about our plates. And on top of that, we need to think about who is on our plate. If we're still eating animals, we need to think about who. Who was that? Who was that animal that was on my plate? And the reason I say who is because when growing up, we had lots of animals lived at our houses. And one of them was a dog called Jack. And Jack had his own personality. He was his own individual. He was a little bit feisty to other people. He was never feisty. He was feisty to me, but mostly he was feisty to people walking past our house. He was protective. He wanted to fight them. Bless him. He's not here anymore. He's passed away. But when he was alive, he was lovely. He used to snuggle up to me and try and make me basically on the back of his leg. There was this one spot. I was Jack Spot. But the reality is that if we choose to, we can have those same relationships with all animals, but we choose some of them to eat and some of them to love. But actually, it's a very, very simple solution. Just love them all and don't eat any of them. That is the best solution, because all of the animals have that ability, have that individuality, maybe they have their nice spot on this side, or maybe they have a nice spot on that side. And interestingly, with Jack, he used to do this weird thing where he used to drag his bum down the corridor. So you'd be sitting there watching TV and there's Jack just dragging his bum down the corridor, making this like rustling sound. And I did it this morning. I dragged my bum down the hall and I was like, I don't get it. I was like, see as you do and like try it out.
Got worms.
Say again?
They do it when they've got worms.
Oh, maybe that was it. I haven't got worms, so that's maybe.
It's anal glands as well.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Sometimes it can be just a habit.
Yeah, as I said, it didn't do anything for me. I was just like, that's my bum on a carpet. It doesn't. But that's what he enjoys. As you say, it might be something that he enjoyed. And I have lots of religious friends, and so I understand. And also, I've been confronted, or people have said to me, I could never go vegan because of my religion. And I actually disagree with that, because I see that veganism and religion can overlap in lots of different ways. So thou shalt not kill is a very vegan thing as well as a religious thing. Treat others as though you want to be treated is a very something that overlaps. On top of that, I have lots of different religious friends, like I said, who have lots of different faiths, and they all are vegan. They're all happy, healthy, and they have their own connection with spirituality and religion, but at the same time, they're vegan. So the world is made up of billions of food munchers. We're all food munchers. We wouldn't be here if we didn't eat food, right? And there's a lot of us. There's 7.8 billion and rising. But we do. We eat food, and I'm a big eater. I love food, like a lot of people. And the current food system, especially in the UK, because the majority of people I know don't buy food that is grass-fed, and the reality of grass-fed is actually that sometimes takes longer to grow than the factory farm stuff, and also the grass-fed animals still have water. They also still have hay when they sleep, and they sometimes have treats. It's not 100% just on grass in all cases, but I'll focus back on the majority, and I never really ate grass-fed, and a lot of people I know don't. But a lot of where animal products come from is that we have water that is used to grow food. The food is then fed to the animals. The animals need water throughout their lives, and they sleep on hay, which is more of an input, and then humans eat the animals. Like I was saying, that book at the beginning just said the most logical option is just to grow food using the water and whatever else is needed. Just eat the plants directly. On top of that, plants generally photosynthesize, so they take carbon dioxide out of the planet. Nitrous oxide, carbon dioxide, methane, and ammonia are all things that come out of animals. And crazily enough, the chickens that are gas chambered in Devon, carbon dioxide is pumped into them. The carbon dioxide goes through into their blood system and then is released into the air. So a carbon footprint of an animal should also include the best carbon footprint is one that doesn't involve eating animals. Has anybody seen Seaspiracy? Could you raise your hand? Okay, yeah. It really powerful. For those who haven't seen it, a really powerful documentary. It really highlights how we're destroying the oceans for products that we don't need, which is fish. On top of that, the film illustrates lots of facts, and all of those facts are listed on their website for those that want to go and check it out. But definitely go check out Seaspiracy, the film. Has anybody seen this film, 73 Cows? I was talking about it earlier with you. So basically, 73 Cows, Jay and Katja used to have a beef farm. Jay was born into beef farming, and he was getting really depressed. He was getting really sad because he was forming these bonds with these animals that he called friends, and he realized that they're individuals, the cows. And then after a couple of years, after he'd grown them to be killed, he was driving them there. And he was driving them there being really sad and really depressed. Because it was this routine. It was building these bonds with these animals and then sending them to their deaths, knowing that their lives are going to be ended. And so what he eventually did is he decided that actually that doesn't make any sense. It didn't align with who he was. And so what he decided to do was he gave away the 73 cows to a sanctuary, so they lived out the rest of their lives like all animals should. And then what he did is he changed to growing oat milk instead. So what the Vegan Society do, and they did with that farm, is they help farmers transition, because vegans aren't against farmers, because without farmers we probably wouldn't have any food. We just want farmers to grow food. We want farmers to grow plants instead of raising and killing animals. And so for anybody who knows of a farm that would be interested in transitioning, go check out the Grow Green scheme. So vegans get a lot of bad rap for eating soya. They get a lot of bad raps for eating almonds, quinoa, and avocados, and all the negative impacts those have. But the reality is that those products can be grown in Europe, so they do have a small footprint. Interestingly enough, when we're talking about environmentalism, I've never met an environmentalist who won't eat a banana, but the reality is that those bananas are shipped over. The point of me saying that is that we need to make lots of different changes and not just focus on the products that the vegans are eating. So I talked about all the different slides that I wanted to try and include, but the reality is that I don't have enough time to include them, and there's loads of papers that I want to share with you guys, but I will be able to share some of them with you. And the first one is exploring the biophysical option space for feeding the world without deforestation. And the short analysis is that if we all ate a vegan diet, we'd be able to feed the world, and it's the best thing for the deforestation. This one was really interesting. It looked at 38,700 farms around the world, and it looked at how they could become more environmentally friendly, so like change the system that they're doing. And their conclusions, again, were that vegan farming will be the most will have the best environmental impact around the world. This one was, again, another really interesting one. Analysis and valuation of the health and climate change co-benefits of dietary change. So sometimes they look at just health, sometimes they look at just environment, but this one was looking at both of them. And what they found is that the HGD means a standard meat eating diet, and the VGN is vegan. The vegan diets were the best across the board, and what it meant is that they could save millions of dollars for the environmental benefits and for the healthcare benefits. And actually, it would actually, on the right, it shows that they are adding to people's lives. So people were living longer when they were eating a vegan diet. This one was called the multiple health and environmental impacts of food. And again, the conclusions were, so with these, the closer you are to the center of the circle means that you are better for human health and that you are better for the environment. And as you can see, all the plants are generally closer to the center, but the animal products are on the outside, and they have a worse effect on the environment. Things like acidification, land use, greenhouse gases, coronary heart disease, and diabetes, especially red meat and processed red meat. So I'm coming to the end of the talk, but really I just want to say that very obvious thing. The best thing we can do is just grow plants and then eat them instead of fattening up the animals in the middle. And by doing that, it'll actually be better for the environment and better for the animals, and will be better for human health because we're not putting ourselves at risk at all those other things that I mentioned earlier, like the VCJD, the salmonella, swine flu, bird flu. And yeah, bringing it back to these individuals, what do they want from their lives? Do they want to live out the full of their life, or do they want to be grown for 6 weeks and then sent to the gas chambers in Devon? And so, again, I'll bring you back to the websites that are available to everyone, 100vegan.weebly.com. I can write them down for you after if you want. But they're also linked to Plymouth Vegan, so lots of helpful guides of where to eat and how to transition, and lots of inspiring quotes about veganism. Has anyone been to Harvest Home? Yeah. So for those that haven't, they've got a really great selection of fruits and vegetables in there. Really lovely place to buy your food from. I try to, as much as possible, not to buy in supermarkets because you're giving back to local people and sort of helping out the community. On top of that, when I used to live in Plymouth, I used to have a Kevrel box. Has anyone heard of Kevrel? Okay, yeah, so Kevrel have organic boxes that they send to your house. Kevrel's just on the other side of the river, if I'm correct. And I remember getting these vegetables that I didn't really use before and being like, okay, how do I make a curry out of this one? I wonder what happens if I steam this one. I wonder, that's an interesting flavour. I've never really thought about purple cabbage or all these little vegetables that aren't what people generally eat, but they still taste good and really healthy for you. And remember that there is a vegan version for everything that you currently like eating. It's just about you finding one that works. So if there's a plant milk, or if you're making your own oat milk at home, or if you're making a curry, just take out the dead animals. And also on top of that, you find a vegan cheese that works for you. Or in fact, if you don't want to eat any mock meats, then you just cook from scratch. So you make noodles, you make pasta dishes, you make bread, you make smoothies. There is a vegan version for everything you currently eat. It's just us finding it and making the effort to find it. Also, me and Anne were talking about veganuary over email, and veganuary, for those that don't know, is Vegan January. So it's a challenge, a 30-day challenge to live for 30 days being vegan. On top of that, they have the slogan of try vegan this month. You don't just have to wait till January. You can use their website, which has lots of recipes, lots of facts, lots of ideas about cooking food. And yeah, there's a really good website to use. So I used these stepping stones as a guide for people because they helped me transition, they helped me move along. So I want you guys to look at those stepping stones and look at the next stepping stone and ask yourselves, why aren't you there? And then work out how you can get there. And if you need any help, give me a shout. And that is the end of the talk. Thank you for your time. Have a lovely day.
Have you got any questions?
I just wanted to mention that if anybody's regularly been before to the Earth Cafe, which is on Union Corner, that starts up again this Saturday.
Yeah, that's really good.
And we talk about the global climate crisis there, as well as offering a vegan meal.
And I'd like to, for us all to know, forgive me if you've already mentioned it, but these animals, whether it's sheep or cows or whatever, piled into lorries and things like that to go to the slaughterhouse. And these animals, they're so ultra sensitive, more than us, and they pick up atmosphere. They know where they're going.
Yeah, that's a really valid point. On top of that, I didn't mention it earlier, but they're all babies, so they could have lived a lot longer. But they're generally just fattened up until they're sent to slaughter. So if you imagine, it's like a puppy. That's why I use the term puppy, because those chicks that were on the back of the truck were like puppies. But yeah, you're very right. As I said, there's so many different areas that we can look into, but they are sensitive. They're individuals. They do pick up on the smell of the slaughterhouse. And yeah, I've heard animals screaming in it, like when I was at a slaughterhouse, and they do know what's happening. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, you're talking about different food products and looking at it from different angles, societal, environmental, political. And looking at the consumer angle of mass consumption of animals. So my brother and my mother, if you like, save battery chickens before they've been discarded and let them roam around space.
Yeah.
But they produce eggs.
Yeah.
Now they eat their eggs.
They do, yeah. So some chickens do, yeah.
Not all of the chickens produce eggs, but they're very happy to have a new life in this new home, to be able to roam around, to go wherever they want, basically.
Yeah.
Next field, next street, whatever. If you ate that egg, how would that be in terms of the issues that you've mentioned today?
Yeah, so I'm an ethical vegan. So I'm vegan first, and then the environment second, and human health second. For me, it's about animal rights. And growing up, I had chickens, and I used to take the eggs, and they tried to peck me as I was taking them. Yeah. And so from my perspective, it's their possession. And even if they left it, I still believe that maybe they wanted to leave it there. Do you know what I mean? So and also eggs aren't, to my knowledge, aren't healthy. The cholesterol, the saturated fat, and it always weirds me out with eggs as well, because actually it's the period of the egg that we're actually eating. That's on a personal level, yeah.
I mean, that question goes for all different animals. If someone saved a goat, or I don't know, a cow or anything like that.
Yeah.
So you're saying that this thing that they have reproduced, the egg or the milk or whatever, it's theirs.
Yeah.
It's their possession.
Yeah, I suppose
it's not human right to go and just take the possession of that animal. Is that
that would be so yeah. It's quite wide, the perspective, but I have to say it from my perspective. It's about consent. So we could go and milk a dog. But does that dog want us to give the milk? Does the goats you're talking about, do they want it? And knowing that I don't need it, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt and not take it? Also, I will be around. I'm really happy. I really enjoy answering all the questions. It seems like we've got another talk. But you had one first.
Yes, I've wondered, Jack. Now he's a dog.
Yes.
What do you feed Jack on?
What? Oh, okay. So I don't have Jack anymore. I don't have any pets at home anymore. But for dogs, for people that I do know that have dogs, there is a vegan dog food. You can't do it for cats, I don't think. It's a bit more trickier. But dogs, you can be happy, healthy dogs on vegan food.
But are we ever going to have? We don't use in some form. I mean, I'd love to see a whole organic farming. Even if I don't eat meat, I'd like to see the organic farm.
Yeah.
But if nobody eats meat at all, are those animals going to die out?
Yeah, so that's a double-parted question. But the reality is that we have sanctuaries, and also we breed the animals, so we choose when they breed. So they're never going to die out. No.
When they breed.
But that's what we do. That's what we currently do. Yeah. Have we run out of time?
I think if they're two quick questions.
And mine was just very quick point is my daughter has cats and they're on a vegan diet.
Oh, they are?
Healthy.
They're healthy. Okay, cool.
Elderly ones, middle-aged.
Ah, that's good.
Transferred from a meat diet to a vegan diet. The dog is also. My other thing was about soya really, because vegans get a bad press over soya, but I believe that 90 to 95% of soya production goes to feed cattle.
It does, yeah.
The environmental impact is much greater if you eat beef and dairy.
Yeah, especially in the UK, because where we get. No, it's an absolutely amazing point, and I didn't really have time to fit it all in. But you're absolutely correct. The soya argument is not a vegan argument; it's a human argument, because you're right. The deforestation that's happening is from soy, which is being fed to animals, not vegans, because vegans only make up 1% of the population. So it's a non-argument against vegans. It's more of you need to hold a mirror up to the people who are saying it and saying, but the animals you eat are eating soy. So you're absolutely right, yeah.
Velma, did you want to ask something?
No, it wasn't me.
I was just going to say that I supported some children on a residential 2 farms for city children, which the one local is near Pen, and they had what they call Calf City for the female calves. And the children actually were thrilled to watch a calf being born, which was lovely. And of course, all the adults were saying, what sex is this calf? Are these children watching a a calf being born, and they're so delighted to see that life coming into the world. And will that calf actually be still alive by the time we all get back to school? But in this calf city, they were like pens, almost like a kennel. So there was an area where they had shelter, and then a little area outside, and then there was like an upturned bucket with a sort of nipple effect on it, and they were all segregated, so they couldn't meet with each other or anything. And it was near where the cows were milked. So when the cows were brought in to milk, they were crying to the calves, and the calves were all answering. It was heartbreaking. And then when the cows were milked, one of the jobs that the children had to do was to bring some of the massive gallons of milk that had been produced by the cows milking over to Calf City to pour them into these upturned buckets for the calves to drink it from this plastic teat. It was horrendous.
Yeah, it is, and there's lots more things that are happening out there. It's just up to you guys to just have a little bit of a digger deep. And the reality is that they are mothers. I'm not a mother myself, but it's that maternal bond that is being broken by human hands, and we don't have a right to do that to them, especially when we don't need to. Yeah, it is.
I think that analogy about the dog at the beginning, I've said to people, well, if you eat, they'll say, couldn't eat a rabbit. I said, but you eat chicken.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
No, thank you for the opportunity, guys. Thanks for coming along.
Please go and look at Berty's stall, because there are leaflets with some nice recipes in.
Yeah. And as I said, I'll be around if anybody has any other points that you didn't get a chance to ask.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time.